Hi, fourth graders. You're going to find your everyday math game mat folder. It should have been picked up by a parent on Wednesday at the high school. Inside of there, you're going to look for a game mat called Subtraction Target Practice Record Sheet or Record Sheet. And also inside of there is a sheet protector. It has plastic on it. So you're going to need those two things today. If you just open this little flap up and stick in the game mat, the great thing about this is it can be used multiple times and you won't have to get a new sheet. So you'll be able to just write directly on there. You'll also need a whiteboard marker, and eraser. The deck of cards you will need as well, and a calculator, and you can use your iPad for that calculator. For the cards, you're going to take out anything that is greater than 9. So any tens, jacks, queens, or kings, just set those aside. You will need that. You can play this game by yourself, or you can choose to play with a partner. If you play with someone at home, just notice there's a game mat for player 1 and player 2 on the bottom. You're going to start with 250 on your whiteboard, and we're going to practice subtracting. So to begin with, you are going to draw 2 cards. You can make that 26 or 62. Your goal is to get as close to 0 after 5 turns without going into the negative. So I'll play one hand and show you what you need to do, and then I'll go through the rest of it as well. So I am early in the game, so I'm going to make this number 62. On my sheet, I'm going to record the 2-digit number. And you can write directly on there with a whiteboard marker. Then on my whiteboard, I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 62 from the 250. I cannot take 2 from 0, so I'm going to borrow from the tens place, make that a 4, put that 10 in front of the 0 to make 10 minus 2 is 8. I cannot subtract 6 from 4, so I'll borrow. Put that in front of the 4. 14 minus 6 is 8. 188 is what I'm left with after turn number 1. I write 188 on my sheet. Now my partner can go ahead while I set up my next subtraction problem. I'm going to write down 188. That's what I ended with in the first hand. My partner would take 2 cards and do the same thing. Turn 2, I have a 7 and a 3. I can make that 73 or 37. So you need to remember you have to do all 5 turns, so I have 4 left, and I don't want to go below 0. I am going to take my chances and try 73. So on my sheet, I'll write down 73. The reason your calculator is there is for you to check your work. So 8 minus 3 is 5, 8 minus 7 is 1, and bring down my 1. I would write 115 is what I have left remaining. I can check that on my calculator to make sure I did the subtraction correctly. 115, correct. Now I'm going to start with 115 for my subtraction for turn number 3. I draw 2 new cards. I have an ace, which is 1, and a 9, so I can make it 19 or 91. If I make it 91 and I only have 115 left, I still have 2 turns after that. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 19. I'll record that on turn number 3. Then my job is to subtract 19 from 115. I cannot subtract 9 from 5, so I'm going to borrow from the tens place. Make that equal to 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. I cannot take 0 minus 1, but I can do 10 minus 1 is 9. Let me check that on my calculator. I can just leave the number I ended with last time and subtract 19 from it, and I ended up with 96. Record 96 on your sheet. Now I know that my next subtraction problem will have 96 at the top. I draw 2 more cards. Don't have a choice here, I have 66. So I go ahead and write 66. I want to get as close to 0 as I can without going into negative numbers. 66. I'm left with 30 and I have 1 more turn left. I can check that on my calculator. 96, and I had to make that number equal to 66. Yes, 30 is what I ended up with. And my last and final turn, a 1 and a 1, 11. So I go ahead and record that on my sheet. On my whiteboard, my last ending number was 30. So I'll subtract 11 from it. I cannot take 0 minus 1, so I borrow from the tens place. Add that 10 to the ones place to get 10 minus 1 is 9. 2 minus 1 is 1. I can go ahead and check that on my calculator. 30 minus 11 is 19. I am left with 19 after 5 turns. I have to take 5 turns. I cannot take any more or any less. Whoever, if you're playing with someone, whoever has the lower score that didn't go below 0 is the winner. And that's how you play subtraction target practice.